Hello everyone and welcome back. Today's episode is going to be very interesting and possibly slightly confusing because today we are talking about British sarcasm. Yes, and if you've ever spoken to someone from the UK and thought, wait, are they being serious? This episode is for you. British sarcasm is subtle, it's dry, it's often emotionless, and sometimes it sounds polite, which makes it even more confusing. Exactly. So today we're going to explain what British sarcasm actually is, how to recognize it, why British people use it, and how you can understand it without feeling offended. Take a deep breath, relax, and let's begin. UK, Part 1. What is British sarcasm? First, let's define sarcasm. Sarcasm is when someone says the opposite of what they truly mean, often to be funny, critical, or ironic. But British sarcasm is different from American sarcasm. American sarcasm is louder. British sarcasm is quieter. American sarcasm often exaggerates. British sarcasm underplays. Yes, British sarcasm often sounds very calm. For example, imagine it is raining very heavily, like extremely heavy rain. A British person might say, "Oh, lovely weather we're having." Now, do they mean it's lovely? No, they mean the opposite. But notice something important. They don't smile widely. They don't raise their voice. They say it very calmly. And that calm tone is part of the humor. Understatement, the heart of British sarcasm, Part 2. Understatement is extremely important in British culture. Understatement means describing something big in a very small way. For example, if someone falls dramatically in public, a British friend might say, "Well, that was graceful." Which means the opposite. It was not graceful at all. Another example. Someone gets completely soaked in rain. Instead of saying, "You're completely drenched," they might say, "You've caught a bit of rain, have you?" A bit of rain? No, it was a storm. That contrast is the humor. Listener practice. Let's practice. I'll say the situation. Emma will respond with British sarcasm. Situation. It's freezing cold, snow everywhere. Oh yes, perfect day for a picnic. Good. Situation. Your friend cooks something that tastes terrible. Well, that's certainly different. Notice that word, certainly. Very British, very polite, very sarcastic. Now, in Part 1, we talked about understatement. But there's another important feature of British sarcasm, and that is deadpan delivery. Deadpan means showing almost no emotion, no big smile, no exaggerated tone, almost serious.
Yes, in fact, sometimes the more serious the face, the funnier the sarcasm. Let's imagine this situation. Someone arrives 1 hour late to dinner. An American might say, "Wow, nice of you to finally join us." But a British person might simply say, "Oh good, you made it."
And that's it. Very calm, very neutral. But the meaning underneath is, you are extremely late.
The humor is hidden. You have to feel it. Mini practice.
I'll describe a situation. Emma will respond with deadpan sarcasm. Situation. Your friend spills coffee all over themselves.
Calmly, well handled.
Perfect. Situation. The computer crashes right before saving.
Oh, brilliant.
That word, brilliant, is very common in British sarcasm, when something is clearly not brilliant.
2. Polite words, sharp meaning.
Now, another pattern in British sarcasm is using extremely polite language to express criticism. British culture values politeness, so sarcasm often hides inside polite phrases. For example, if someone makes a bad decision at work, instead of saying, "That was a bad idea," a British colleague might say, "That's an interesting approach."
Now listen carefully. Interesting does not mean interesting. It often means I completely disagree.
Another example, if someone explains something very badly, a British listener might respond, "Right, I see." But they don't see. They are confused, or they think it makes no sense.
Listener exercise.
Repeat these common sarcastic phrases slowly. That's interesting. Bold choice. Well done. Good effort.
Now remember, tone is everything. Say them calmly. Slight pause. No big smile.
Number 3, self-deprecating sarcasm. Now, this is very important. British sarcasm is not only used toward others, it is often used toward oneself. Self-deprecating humor means making fun of yourself.
Yes, British people often criticize themselves as a form of humor. For example, if someone fails an exam, they might say, "Well, that went beautifully." Or, "I continue to impress everyone."
Which obviously means the opposite. Or if someone trips while walking, graceful as ever, about themselves. This type of sarcasm makes people feel comfortable. It shows humility.
Why is this important? Because British culture dislikes arrogance, so sarcasm becomes a way to reduce ego. If you succeed at something, you might say, "Oh, just got lucky," even if you worked very hard.
Number 4, sarcasm as social bonding. Now, here's something many learners misunderstand. British sarcasm is often friendly. It is not always aggressive. Friends tease each other using sarcasm. For example, your friend buys very expensive designer shoes. You might say, "Oh yes, very sensible purchase," but you're smiling slightly.
Or your friend says they're going to the gym. You reply, "Of course you are," meaning I don't believe you, but in a playful way.
Among close friends, sarcasm is a bonding tool. It creates closeness. However, this is very important. You should not use heavy sarcasm with strangers.
Cultural insight.
So, why is British sarcasm so dry? Historically, British humor developed around restraint. Showing too much emotion was considered improper, so humor became subtle, indirect, understated.
In some ways, sarcasm allows British people to express criticism without open confrontation. Instead of arguing loudly, they joke quietly. It reduces tension.
Recognition skills. Let's help you recognize British sarcasm. Here are signs. The situation clearly contradicts the words. The tone is calm. The face is neutral. The phrase is overly polite. The statement feels slightly exaggerated but said quietly.
For example, it's raining heavily. Someone says, "Glorious." That contradiction is your clue. Final practice dialogue. Part 2 ending.
Let's do a longer example. Situation. A friend cooks dinner. The food is burnt.
Tone is calm. "Oh, yes, this is Michelin star quality."
Michelin star means extremely high quality, so clearly this is sarcasm.
Now, your turn. Imagine your train is canceled. You might say, "Fantastic." Slow, calm, slight pause. That's British sarcasm.
Now let's move into a very important area, the British workplace. Many learners get confused here because British professionals often sound polite, but they are being sarcastic.
Yes, and in offices, sarcasm becomes more subtle, less dramatic, very controlled. Let's imagine a meeting. Someone presents a very unrealistic idea. Instead of saying, "That won't work," a British manager might say, "That's certainly ambitious."
Now listen carefully. Ambitious here does not mean impressive. It often means this is unrealistic.
Another example, an employee submits work late. The manager might say, "Nice of you to join us." Very calm, very light tone. But the meaning is, "You are late."
Here's another classic workplace phrase. That's one way of doing it. That sentence sounds neutral, but often it means, I would not have done it that way.
Mini roleplay, office scenario. So, Emma, I see you sent the report 3 days after the deadline.
Yes, timing has never been my strong point.
Consistency is important. Notice how neither person is shouting. No open conflict. Sarcasm replaces confrontation.
Now let's talk about relationships, friendships, dating, marriage. British couples often use sarcasm playfully. For example, your partner forgets to buy milk. You might say, "Oh, brilliant, just what we needed."
Or your partner takes a very long time to get ready. You say, "Take your time, we've got all day," which obviously means we do not have all day.
But here's the key difference. Tone decides everything. If the tone is playful, it's bonding. If the tone is cold, it becomes passive-aggressive.
Yes, British sarcasm walks a fine line between humor and irritation.
Listener awareness exercise. Imagine your friend cancels plans at the last minute. You say, "Reliable as ever." Now ask yourself, is your tone playful or annoyed? That changes everything.
Now, this is interesting. Not all British sarcasm sounds the same. In London and the South, sarcasm tends to be dry and subtle, very controlled.
In Northern England, sarcasm can be more direct, but still humorous. There is often stronger teasing among friends.
Scottish humor can be even sharper, very quick and witty, but still understated.
And remember, British sarcasm rarely involves loud exaggeration. It's about contrast and restraint.
Now, let's talk about danger, because sarcasm does not always translate well, especially for non-native speakers.
If someone from another culture hears, "Oh, that's just perfect," they might think you are happy, but you are not, so misunderstandings happen.
Also, sarcasm can become passive-aggressive. Passive-aggressive means expressing anger indirectly. For example, instead of saying, "I'm upset," someone says, "Well, that was thoughtful," when clearly it wasn't.
In professional environments, too much sarcasm can damage trust. So here's advice for learners. Understand sarcasm first, use it carefully later.
Now, let's briefly compare British sarcasm with American sarcasm.
American sarcasm is often louder, more exaggerated, more obvious. For example, if something bad happens, an American might say, "Oh yeah, because that makes total sense," with strong emphasis.
A British person might simply say, "Right." And that one word, "right," can carry sarcasm, depending on tone.
American sarcasm often uses big facial expressions. British sarcasm often keeps a straight face. That's why it's harder to detect.
Let's do a final practice conversation. Situation: the internet stops working during an important online meeting.
Oh, yes, excellent timing.
Situation: someone forgets your birthday.
Well, that's memorable.
Situation: the train is canceled again.
Consistent, at least.
Notice the pattern. Short sentence, calm tone, opposite meaning. That's British sarcasm.
Now that we understand the patterns, let's go deeper. Why does British sarcasm exist in the first place? Why not just say what you mean?
Historically, British culture values emotional restraint. Open confrontation was often considered impolite. So instead of direct conflict, humor became the outlet.
Sarcasm allows criticism without aggression. Instead of saying, "You're wrong," you say, "That's an interesting theory." It softens the social impact.
There's also something else, social intelligence. British sarcasm requires the listener to get it. It creates a shared understanding, almost like a private joke.
And that shared understanding builds connection. If you understand the sarcasm, you feel included. If you don't, you feel confused, which is why today's lesson is important. Let's do a longer, realistic conversation between two British friends. Situation: they planned a picnic. It starts raining heavily.
Lovely day for it.
Absolutely tropical.
I do enjoy sitting in a puddle.
Character building. Now, let's break this down. Lovely day for it. Clearly, it's raining. Absolutely tropical. Exaggeration, but said calmly. I do enjoy sitting in a puddle. No one enjoys that. Character building, meaning this is uncomfortable. This entire exchange contains no direct complaint, yet both people fully understand the misery.
Situation: presentation fails. Slides won't load. Well, this is smooth.
Flawless execution.
Technology at its finest.
We really couldn't have planned it better.
Notice, very short sentences. Calm tone. No shouting. Opposite meaning. This reduces tension in an embarrassing situation. Sarcasm here acts as emotional relief.
Now let's test you. I will say a sentence. You decide, serious or sarcastic. Sentence 1. Oh, great. If someone says this after spilling coffee, sarcastic. If someone says this after getting a promotion, serious. Context decides everything.
Sentence 2. That's helpful. If someone blocks your driveway and says nothing, sarcastic. If someone gives clear directions, serious.
Sentence 3. Well done. If someone crashes into a wall, sarcastic. If someone wins an award, serious.
Now repeat after us slowly with dry tone. Oh, fantastic. Brilliant. Perfect. Well, that's ideal. Feel the calmness. That calm tone carries the sarcasm.
Very important. Do not use sarcasm in job interviews, with strangers, in formal written communication, when emotions are already high. Sarcasm can easily be misunderstood as disrespect.
First, learn to recognize it. Then, observe how native speakers use it. Use it gently and sparingly.
Situation: long queue at the airport, flight delayed.
Moving quickly, isn't it?
Lightning speed.
We might even leave today.
Optimism suits you.
Now slow it down and imagine the scene. Long line. People tired. No movement. The humor is in the contrast. That is the heart of British sarcasm.
Let's summarize everything we've learned across this masterclass. British sarcasm is understated, calm, often polite on the surface, opposite in meaning, dependent on tone and context.
It uses understatement, deadpan delivery, polite vocabulary, short, dry sentences, self-deprecating humor.
It avoids loud exaggeration. It avoids dramatic facial expressions. It thrives in subtlety.
And remember, if the situation is bad and the sentence sounds positive, it is probably sarcasm.
Now you can recognize it. Now you can understand it. And perhaps one day you might even use it. Carefully.
Thank you for joining us for this full masterclass on British sarcasm.
And if today's weather is terrible, just say glorious.
See you next time.